Yes, people. Yes, people. Yes, people. It's the We Talk Football podcast. We're back again with episode 5. And this week, we talk the mad fixtures that happened over the weekend. We talk the transfer window, who was the biggest loser, who was the biggest winner. And we reluctantly talk about fantasy football. I'm Jamie. And as usual, I'm joined by my co-host, my clueless co-host, should I say, Kwaku. How you doing, mate?
That's a new one, isn't it? Clueless co-host. What a way to talk to your best mate. Yeah, mate. Crazy things going on the weekend. Obviously, a lot to talk about. So let's get straight to it.
Some of the results that were thrown up over this weekend were bonkers. Obviously, you've got the Man United Spurs game, the Aston Villa Liverpool game. Those two results, like if you're a better man, you had an accumulator on those, mate. I would have loved to see the odds. Do you know what I mean?
No one's got that.
Exactly, man. Like Chelsea had a good result as well against Palace. I think they were like the only big side really to like exert any sort of dominance. Everton did well. You know, Man City drew with Leeds. West Ham won 3-0, beating Leicester, who were undefeated up until this. It was a mad weekend for fixtures.
Well, the Man City game was literally like a ping pong game. Like the West Ham one was a madness. Literally, all of them were crazy, bro. What should you start off with? I reckon we should start off with Liverpool.
Yeah, let's start off with the Liverpool game. Yeah, let's do it. I think that game, Liverpool just looked tired. And I think without, like, what I would say is where they play that high press, if they haven't got Mane in that team, you know, dictating the tempo of that high press, Liverpool got found out multiple times in that game. And whether it's just an anomaly, you would expect it to be an anomaly, but they were awful.
Mate, they were struggling. Like, as soon as the game started, it was like Villa looked like they could score at any point. It was mad. I know 4 of Villa's goals were deflected, but literally every time they were through on goal, it was like, they're going to score. And people want to say it's a personnel issue in terms of they're missing Alisson and they're missing Mane. And it probably was something to do with that, as well as like a lack of pre-season. But that was one of the craziest Premier League games I've ever seen, bro.
For sure. I mean, like 7-2 is I can't believe I'm saying this, but 7-2 is a generous scoreline as well, because
it should have been 10.
Look at the amount of chances that Ross Barkley like missed on his debut. Like he could have had a hat-trick in the first half alone.
And Watkins had a good game. Watkins had a good game, but like he missed a couple of chances. It was just like, it was a madness. It was a true madness. Like I think Liverpool, obviously the international break, I think will help them. Obviously after you lose game, you kind of want to get back to it and kind of rectify that result. But I think they need to just reset. Hopefully Mane will be back for them after the international break. I think Alisson's out for like 4 to 6 weeks though, so that's going to be problematic. Adrian didn't look up to scratch. It was a madness.
Mate, you look at Adrian. So I love Adrian. Obviously, I'm a West Ham fan. What he did in the cup for us against Everton in the penalties and everything, like he's down in West Ham folklore. But you look at his positioning in that game, and for example, you know when Watkins hit the bar.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the replay where he's running off in the opposite direction. Like he had a really bad game. And last year he was solid for them. For them. So
man,
I think
it's a difficult one without it.
I'm from.
Yeah. Well, obviously, like they just need to get their troops back. And like Klopp in the second half shifted from like a 4-3-3 to a 4-2-3-1. But mate, like Trent looked bad. Obviously, Salah banged, did us a favour for fantasy, but Van Dijk looked bad. You see the video or the clip of Grealish mugging Van Dijk off where he makes him, and then Barkley obviously misses the chance.
Oh, mate, yeah, man,
it was a madness. But I do think. Go on.
Grealish just looked electric, didn't he? Like I think the fact that they've tied him down to a long-term contract now, I think, mate, that's solid. I think that's such good business for Aston Villa, and Jack Grealish is going to go down as a legend there now. He played so well, and linking up with Barkley as well, especially before the Euros next year. Like, it's so good for England. I think Gareth Southgate's going to look closely at that throughout the season and see how that partnership really does develop. And you've got people like Ollie Watkins as well. If Ollie Watkins puts in performances all year like that, England are screaming for a striker at the moment, with Kane being so injury prone, and Vardy, retiring from English duty. So other than Danny Ings, who really is there to go in?
Tammy Abraham.
Tammy Abraham. But yeah, even he looked quite average on the weekend.
Yeah. Well, mate, the Liverpool. Obviously, Ollie Watkins, he bagged the hat-trick, like a perfect hat-trick first half. And I do rate him. Last season for Brentford, he looked decent, but he hadn't scored a Premier League goal up until then. So we'll see how he does. But I think the Grealish Barkley partnership in midfield is just different, man. Different. Like that Liverpool midfield is now one of their strengths. Granted, they're missing Henderson, but it is one of their strong points of the team in terms of depth. They've got Keita, they've got Fabinho. Like Oxlade-Chamberlain's not even getting a look in this season. But one thing I did want to say was like, with it, I think we might see this again for Liverpool. Not in terms of losing 7-2, that's not going to happen again. But where they play like such a high line, they condense the pitch. Obviously, they won Champions League, they won the league title, playing a high line. I'm not saying don't play it, but where they make the pitch so much smaller, and then any balls over the top, they either catch them offside or Alisson comes and sweeps up. Where Adrian's not as adept of coming off his line, like they're going to get caught out a number of times, man. You're going to see like pacey strikers in behind that Liverpool defence unless they sit like 3 or 4 yards deeper. It was a true madness to witness.
Yeah, it's just a crazy scoreline. The Premier League occasionally throws up mental scorelines like that. It was just, you just weren't expecting it, and you weren't expecting so many on one day.
Mate, well, the game before that, the Liverpool, the Spurs versus United was a madness as well. Like
Spurs look good. Spurs look really good, and Man United look really bad.
Yeah.
You know, what was Harry Maguire doing in that first goal? You see where he just like pulls over Luke Shaw?
Yeah, bro.
Mate, Luke Shaw's a scumbag as well. That challenge at the end on Lucas. It's Lucas, right?
Yeah.
The rules of our game are fucked when you can do that to a player and it's a yellow card. But in the first half, you know, Martial gets sent off for that for a red. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Martial's stupid in that, but like, yeah, the Shaw one, bro. While I was watching it, I was like, that is a red for sure. You see Ollie in the background in the replay, just like look like he's like, what the hell have we just done there?
Yeah.
It was a madness. But even before Martial got sent off, Spurs did look dominant, man. They looked really, really good, which is never great to see as a Chelsea fan. But seeing United get slapped was definitely something to brighten up my weekend. Like United are in trouble.
It's a partnership, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, Son and Kane, like together, they just look like they've got that next kind of telepathy, almost like that York Cole, where they know where each other's going to be. Like Harry Kane puts the ball down quickly, plays the through ball, and Son's onto it like a flash and finishes.
Yeah, the quick
like
free kick. Yeah,
man. It was a true madness. It was true madness. Spurs look like they've got something good going on. Obviously, Bale to come back into this team or come into this team. It'll be interesting to see where they go after the international break.
Harry Redknapp was saying he thinks they're dark horses. That if any team were to surprise the top two of City and Liverpool, Harry Redknapp thinks that Tottenham have a chance of really pushing the top two, which is a bold claim, to be fair, but the way they're playing at the moment, they look really good.
Yeah, but first of all, the first thing Harry's got wrong there is the top two is going to be Chelsea and City, not Liverpool and City. And the second thing he's got wrong is Spurs ain't challenging no one, bro. We know what got with Spurs. We know what they are. Like, they ain't winning a league title. They ain't even going to push for a league title. They flat to the seed most of the time. And even with these new signings, they ain't doing that.
You think?
Well, you think Spurs can do something?
No, I mean over a season, you know, I feel like as soon as there's a Mourinho bust up with someone, things could fall down. But Jose Mourinho knows how to get his team over the line, and true. You know they're playing good football at the moment. If they keep this up, you know, and they take it on a game by game basis, there's no reason why they can't, you know, do well over the season. Whether I think they'll actually challenge is another thing entirely. I think they definitely have a chance to get in top four with this kind of football. It's just. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. But yeah, another interesting game, especially for me, West Ham Leicester versus West Ham at Leicester. We were unbelievable. We had our new signing, Kufal, right back. He was solid, had such a good debut. You know, like some of the goals that we scored. Like, I don't know if you've seen the Fornals goal. That touch is so underrated, so underrated. Brings it down over the top, one touch, boom. Like, takes it out of his feet and then slots it bottom corner. You know, Jared Bowen scored again. I'm sure that makes you happy. Antonio picked up with a great header at the back post. Great ball in from Cresswell. West Ham are playing really well with this new three at the back formation, and then having our two wing backs there. So I think, yeah, it's a shame that we didn't sign anyone on deadline day or anything like that, and a few left. But yeah, great game for us. Leicester were clearly not at the races. We kept them out all day, really.
Yeah.
That Ogbonna was unbelievable in the centre of our defence, and it's just So it seems like a completely different side to what I was expecting. I obviously tipped us to go down.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it looks like we've kind of carried across some sort of semblance of form from the end of last season, and I think like we've only lost 2 games in our last 10 or 11 or something like that. So it's pretty good. It's looking okay for West Ham. It's just a shame about our transfer policy at the moment.
Unfortunately, I'm repping West Ham colours today, which I've just realised. But no, yeah, man, West Ham look really, really good. It's kind of like, it's crazy in football how quick the narrative changes, because obviously like 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, it was all doom and gloom for West Ham in terms of going down, the border a joke, there's this whole GSB out. And now off the back of a couple of good results, like things are looking good again. And like you say, West Ham do look decent. They have got the bones of a decent squad. It's just that I don't know how deep that squad actually is. Did well to keep Declan Rice. That run he did was a madness. If he would have put that away, mate, that would have been goal of the season. That was a madness.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Like the GSB out movement is still in full force, and I think it would take West Ham winning the league really for us to, like, forget about that. I think the board have really run their course at West Ham now, and they're not supporting the club at all. I'll talk more about the transfer policy, but when your owner's coming out on TalkSport and saying, and complaining about spending £50,000 to be in the Carabao Cup that you then get knocked out of, and then not signing players, it's very evident that they're not backing this club. So,
bro, I'm in a good mood today, so I'm not going to get onto West Ham too much because you did have a good result. But yeah, there is so much wrong with that, and obviously we're going to talk about transfers a bit later on. But good result for West Ham. Obviously, decent result from the boys. Chelsea, first game of the weekend, 12:30 kickoff on Saturday. First half, man, it was so fucking drab. It was so drab, but managed to tuck a few goals away in the second half, and we looked decent second half. I think the thing I was most impressed about was the fact that we didn't really give Palace a sniff. Like Zaha was nullified, Thiago Silva and Zuma looked really, really good together. Chilwell, obviously, man match performance, a goal and assist. Yeah, man, it was all looking good. It's a well needed win for Frank Lampard and the boys, just because the pressure was mounting. And obviously, now in hindsight, Chelsea fans are panicking because we drew 3-3 West Brom, but having seen Liverpool go down 7-2 against a Villa side that just about stayed up last season, our first 3 games or first 4 games of the season aren't looking too bad.
No, definitely not. And yeah, just to speak a little bit about Ben Chilwell, what a dream debut. I think he's perfectly suited for Chelsea, because Frank's going to want a left back to be a left back, a traditional left back. And I think Ben Chilwell, you'll struggle to find a better player in the Premier League that's going to do that. There's plenty of attacking fullbacks in the league, but the traditional left back per se, I think that's kind of going out the game. And Ben Chilwell will fit that mold perfectly. It's good that he's obviously at Chelsea as well, because from an England perspective, there's a bunch of young players at Chelsea that could get into the England squad, and having that synergy between them all could benefit England. So, yeah.
I mean, I know we're not touching on it properly today, but the fact that Chilwell, Sancho, and Tammy Abraham got dropped from the England team because they went to Tammy's birthday. That's with this England squad, there's a few cracks beginning to show in regards to obviously the thing that happened with Foden and Greenwood, and now this thing with Tammy and Jadon and Ben Chilwell. It's just there's a few things going on, and obviously it's not the best preparation in regards to leading up to the Euros, but yeah, aside from that, man, the Chelsea performance was good. I was happy. Did you see the little not bust up, but the little argument that Tammy had with Jorginho over taking the second penalty?
I did. What was Tammy doing? What is Tammy doing?
I know.
I know Jorginho. Jorginho was arguably on his way out the club or whatever, but why would Tammy take that penalty?
I know. I know. The thing is, I get it, because obviously we're 3-0 up, and Tammy's the performance did kind of warrant a goal, but there's an order and there's a structure, and I think Aspilicueta kind of diffused the situation perfectly, because that could have escalated. But after the game, when Frank was asked about it, he kind of appreciated it, because I remember, I think it was the 2009-2010 season against Wigan, last game of the season. And the same thing happened with Lampard and Drogba. Drogba was going for the Golden Boot against Wayne Rooney, and Lampard was obviously the penalty taker, and Drogba was unhappy about not being able to take the penalty. But again, you're on the pitch, you've got a job to do, you've got a game to win. And Tammy will take his he'll learn a lesson from this, and it shouldn't be too much of an issue going forward.
For sure. I mean, what other games were there over the weekend? There was Everton as well. Everton looked good as well.
Yeah.
City. Let's talk about Everton though, because Everton, again, solid game against Brighton. Brighton have been unlucky this season so far. They've played well in most of their games, obviously, but they haven't really come away with results. But Everton, so good, so good. Rodriguez looks like a completely different player, to what he's been. His stock had really fallen, but Carlo Ancelotti clearly likes him. He's had him at multiple clubs and knows how to get the best out of him.
Yeah.
Scored 2 goals. Calvert-Lewin scoring again. It's looking all good for Everton.
Like Calvert-Lewin and Jarrod Bowen need to just slow down, bro, because like his blooper reel is going to be a madness. Obviously, I've already apologised to Calvert-Lewin, but Bowen, like I'm still sticking by my guns. Still sticking by my guns. He's not gonna be a baller, but bro, he's looking like a bit of a baller.
Both are doing well. Yeah.
Yeah, no, bro. Everton just got like firepower. They just look like they're going to outscore teams, and of course, like they conceded a couple of goals, but it looks like they're going to outscore you. James looks good. They've built a good squad, and they've got a core there, but they've also got that flair, that je ne sais quoi that kind of takes you to the next level. They've got everything. Really. Why are you laughing, bro? You impressed by my French? They've got everything that you kind of need. Obviously, we're going to have to see if they can sustain that. I've got a top manager. I've got strikers banging in goals. Got that number 10 that's providing opportunities for their other players. And yeah, man, they look good.
Yeah, well, as I mentioned before, Everton last year, the problem with their squad was their midfield, and the midfielders in there, the numbers that they had were just far below what was needed to be a decent Premier League side. Obviously, Everton have addressed that, and now they're flourishing as a result. They look a completely different side, and Merseyside, the blue side of Merseyside, very happy. And then with Liverpool losing so heavily the next day, I bet there was some Everton fans going mental. But it's early days. But yeah, what other fixture? The City fixture.
The City fixture was just a madness. Like any other weekend, people have been like, that was the game of the weekend, because it's literally just up and down like a basketball game. City, man, like, I don't know. Obviously, this whole fraudulent thing. I can't even say the words. Fraudulent. Fraudiola thing is going on.
I'm not giving you that.
People, mate, it's been a long week. And people are starting to kind of question Pep. But I think there's something wrong with the actual personnel there, man. They haven't got a striker. Like, Raheem Sterling's their striker. Like, I don't really see where they're going to get consistent goals from. And their defense has been an issue for the last year and a half since Kompany's left. Like, they're in trouble, man.
That's what I said initially in our first episode. I said without Aguero, who's going to be there to deputise as a striker? And I think, when Aguero comes back, there's going to be a hell of a lot of pressure coming back. But he's having knee surgery, so yeah, it's not looking good for City at the moment. I'm surprised they didn't look to go out and strengthen. You look at Man United went and bought Edinson Cavani, for example. I don't think that's necessarily the best signing in the world, but City needed a striker. Was there any interest from them in doing that? That he could have done the job. It's not looking all rosy for City at the moment, but I think they'll come good.
What, you reckon top 2 finish still? Yeah.
I still think they'll definitely finish top 4 in my opinion. I think they have far too much depth and far too much talent in that squad to not finish in the top 4. But don't forget that Liverpool obviously lost 7-2 as well. The Premier League's throwing up these freak results, and Leeds have looked outrageous as well. Let's think about it. Like, Leeds pushed Liverpool to 4-3, and they've drew 1-1 with Man City. And both the managers have come out and said about how Leeds are like some of the best sides they've ever played. So I don't think we can put it down to City just being not having a striker. I think it might come down to just, Bielsa, the decent manager who knows how to get the best out of his players. So yeah.
Fair. Obviously, you touched on the on City not going out to strengthen in terms of their attack. So I think probably best time to move on to transfers and give our opinions on the summer transfer window.
Cool, yeah. So let's move on to transfers. I think how we should do this is, instead of going through the entire Premier League, I think we should just basically bring out our clubs that we think are the biggest winners and the biggest losers. I mean, for me personally, I think the biggest winners in this transfer window have done the most shrewd business. It's Aston Villa. I don't think you can look past Aston Villa. I think obviously there are other teams that have done amazing, like Chelsea have gone out there and bought a lot of players. Arsenal have done really well, but I think Aston Villa, they've done a lot of shrewd business. They've brought in people like Ollie Watkins, who, it's a big fee, but, it's early doors. He seems to be doing okay. He scored in the cup, scored the hat-trick on the weekend, could have had more. They brought in Martinez from Arsenal, who's looked really, really solid. Obviously, I think the most important signing was getting Grealish on a new contract. I think that's huge for them. And obviously, it's not a new signing, but having that, that security for the whole squad, knowing that Jack Grealish, probably their best attacking player, their best creative player, is going to be in the squad long term. It's going to be good for the synergy of the club. Just brought in Ross Barkley. They brought in Traore from Lyon, brought in Matty Cash from Nottingham Forest, who was solid in the Championship last year. I think in terms of like addressing their problems, let's think about it. Last year, they secured Premier League status for this season on the last day of the season, and largely their problems last year were not putting the ball in the net. And you just look at some of the players that they've signed there, and then they've signed some defensive players as well. I think Aston Villa, they've really made signings to try and push up the table. I wouldn't be surprised now if, they were finishing around the mid-table mark. They've definitely got players in their squad to get there, I think. But yeah, I just think hats off to Aston Villa. I think they've done really, really well, and it's refreshing to see a club back their manager, like Dean Smith. Like they stayed with him last season. They were at times not the greatest, but they've gone out. He said, "Look, I need these players, this player, this player, this player," and the board have just said, "Let's do it." And some of the players they've got, they're exciting.
Yeah. I'd agree with you that in terms of Villa being one of the teams that won the transfer window. For me, I think it pains me to say it, but Arsenal, man, like they've gone out and done serious business. Like they've gone like for years and years with Arsenal, especially post kind of Invincibles. It's always been they haven't got a core, and they've gone out and addressed that. They've gone out and got Gabriel. They've gone out and got Thomas Partey on deadline day, which I think could be one of the signings of the summer. They've obviously in goal, Leno's the top keeper, so their core is looking real strong. Like Arsenal before were all icing and no cake, like all sizzle, no steak. Like that Arsenal were like they flattered to like deceive a lot of times, but now with this strengthening and with Arteta kind of grinding out results in situations where Arsenal last season or maybe the season before wouldn't have ground out those results. The result against West Ham, for example, last season or the season before they would have lost that game. But where they were a bit of a transition period, they understand that things aren't going to be easy at the beginning of the season. They managed to eke out results, man, and they just look really, really good. Those signings are obviously going to reinforce the squad. But Aubameyang is one of the best strikers in the world. Tierney's amazing. They look lethal, man. So I'd say that for me, in terms of this summer transfer window, I think Arsenal have won this one, as much as it pains me to say it.
So you're going with Arsenal, I've gone with Aston Villa. Should we give a few mentions to some clubs that I think have done well as well?
Yeah, go on, you go.
Yeah, I would say there's a couple of clubs out there I think that have had solid windows as well. And there was a good quote saying that the best run clubs are the clubs that don't do their business on deadline day. And one of those clubs was Tottenham Hotspur. I'm a West Ham fan. I don't need to tell you how much I don't like Tottenham, but Tottenham have had a really, really good window. How well the Bale move goes is, it can go either way. But look at Højbjerg, look at Doherty. Like Doherty's been really unlucky with some of the penalties that have gone against him. We spoke about them already, but Højbjerg looks like an absolute baller. He bossed Man United on the weekend. Absolutely bossed them. Reguilon as well, like solid left back. He played well as well. Like some of the signings they brought in, and they've just brought in the Brazilian striker from Porto on loan, haven't they? And they said so that's addressing the that I can't think of his name. Let me see if I've got it here. Benfica Carlos Vinicius. And what did Tottenham need? They need a backup striker for Harry Kane.
Yeah,
and I think great window for them. You also look at Everton as well. I think Everton, they've brought in James Rodriguez, they brought in Nkunku. Nkunku's looked great. Ben Godfrey they brought in as well. Brought in the Swedish goalkeeper Robin Olsen from Roma on loan. And that's great because Jordan Pickford's probably been the only weak link in that side, I'd say so far. He's made a few suspect decisions. So, Moise Kean, they've sent him out on a loan move to Paris Saint-Germain.
That's a
Theo
mad
Walcott.
one.
Theo Walcott's gone to Southampton. I think that's really good. You look at the interview that he had on Sky Sports, and he was saying like it means so much to him, and he'll probably cry when he makes his debut for Southampton. Obviously coming through the ranks there. I think that's lovely.
Grow up, Theo. How old are you now? Like 33, you're gonna start crying. You need to grow up,
mate. And I'm forgetting as well. Obviously, I was talking about their midfield earlier. They brought in Alan. Alan looks like an absolute steal at the amount of money they paid for him. And then obviously Abdoulaye Doucouré as well. Doucouré always shone in a Watford side that was always kind of, here and there. They would turn up sometimes, not turn up other times. Very inconsistent. I think Doucouré is obviously that, put him in that Everton side. It's just the engine. So him and Alan, and then having that creative flair in front of him with James Rodriguez. Yeah, great window for Everton. But for me, I think Aston Villa have just killed it. I think they've killed the window. And
well, since you didn't mention my
so
boys,
good to see that, like not a small club, but yeah.
Sorry, I think it froze there. But because you didn't mention my boys, I'm gonna give Chelsea a little shout out as an honourable mention. To be fair, I think a lot of these Chelsea players, a lot of these new Chelsea signings have been judged prematurely just because of the way the season started. Obviously, we've got the win against Brighton, but then getting kind of spanked by Liverpool and then going out of the cup to Spurs and in questionable circumstances. I feel like people cast aspersions on these new Chelsea signings, but I feel like in terms of getting business done, to bring in the keeper, to bring in a player of the talent of Kai Havertz, to bring in a striker of the calibre of Timo Werner, Hakim Ziyech, Thiago Silva, Ben Chilwell. In terms of getting business done, I don't think you can really look past Chelsea. We've done bits this transfer window. It's just a case of it meshing and seeing how it gels. I do think post international break we're going to see the true Chelsea when Ziyech comes back in. Obviously, Pulisic isn't a new signing, but he was our best player last season. So it'll be interesting to see how we look. But I think Chelsea are one of my honourable mentions. I think we should probably move on to.
They've had a great. Just to add on to that, they've had a great window. Obviously, they've spent a hell of a lot of money. And for me, I put my winners just went down to teams that didn't have the ability to do that and made some really shrewd business signings. But obviously you can't deny Chelsea have had a good window, but they've also spent a hell of a lot more on everyone other than City,
No, but I obviously we spent money, but in terms of net spend, I think we haven't actually spent that as much money as people would expect, really and truly. Like we've got Ben Chilwell down to 45 mil, like where we previously quoted like 80 mil. We've done some shrewd business, I believe anyway.
I still think there's players in your squad that needed to go though. I think you've got a huge squad now, and there's not I think some of the players in your squad did need to go. You look at Tomori. How much playing time is he going to get as a young English player at Chelsea? Had the loan move offered to him to go to West Ham, obviously he turned it down. There's a lot of players in Chelsea's side that aren't going to get game time, and I think because of that, it does detract from their transfer window. But that's the only downside I'd say.
I'd say in terms of that, I actually agree with you. Our squad's actually a bit bloated. I'm surprised that we've got rid of both Loftus-Cheek and Barkley. But in terms of we've got 3 left backs in the squad, which we don't need. We've got 5 centre backs. We need to get rid of one of them. I feel like those are positions we need to get rid of. But I feel like I'll give us a B+/A for our transfer window this summer.
Where did I didn't realise Loftus-Cheek went in the end.
Yeah, he went to Fulham on loan last day.
I did hear that. Yeah, I don't know why he got to Fulham. be honest. I
What
think
team that's going to get relegated? I know what you mean.
like obviously you got the Scott Parker connection there. I would have liked to see him go to somewhere like Palace or even like a West Ham or a team that are actually going to try and do something this year. I don't think Fulham have done anywhere near enough business to be good enough for Premier League level. And I think he's only going to, if he gets game time, he'll shine in a bad side, you'd like to think. But, you know, I would like to see him at a mid-table team personally. But yeah, good window for Chelsea, as I said.
All right, talking of mid-table teams, should we talk about a team that's soon to be mid-table in terms of who's flopped in the transfer market? United, bro. United. Manchester United. Like, man, like obviously I've watched all these fan channels to kind of gauge real opinions around the club. So I'm watching United Stand, I'm watching Football Terrace. And bro, these men are losing their minds. Like, they are losing their minds. And then to top it all off when they gave Edson Cavani the number 7 shirt, man, the internet always broke. Like, they fucked it, bro. They messed it up badly.
Man United are a shambles, mate. They're a shambles. I think the fact is, Man United are one of the biggest clubs in the world, and in my opinion, their reputation has been damaged this window. They've been, you know, I think sometimes in football, you know, obviously we don't know the whole story. There's probably more to it than what's in the media. But from the outside, Jadon Sancho agreed terms with United. Everything was agreed, but the fee. And I think Borussia Dortmund obviously gave their deadline, they gave their valuation, and Man United's valuation was off that. But Man United made it clear in the media that their number one target was Sancho, and they haven't got him. And it's because they didn't want to pay enough money. And then they go out and make signings like Edinson Cavani, which just stinks of, for me, like he could do well. Again, it's great for the Premier League. He's been a top striker in Paris Saint-Germain. But, you know, it just stinks of Alexis Sanchez version 2. It stinks of Ibrahimovic version 2, you know?
Falcao.
I just think Falcao, you know, like these players that aren't necessarily at the peak of their powers. And I just think it could be another situation like Alexis Sanchez, but who knows? I hope he does well because, again, he's done really well in Paris. But yeah, I think they brought in a couple of good signings. Obviously, Van der Beek, whether they need him or not, you know, he's not starting in the Premier League at the moment.
Brother, his agent's coming out and saying, or his advisor's coming out and saying that he's unhappy with playing time. They signed him like 3 weeks ago. Like, they are a shambles. I don't want to hear Ollie out because it's been Mourinho, it's been Van Gaal, it's been David Moyes, it's now been Ollie, and it's still the same Manchester United, bro. It's poisonous at the board level, at the ownership level. Like, they are done out here. Ed Woodward. It should be Woodward out. It should be Glazers out. And obviously they've been screaming that for decades now. But there needs to be an emphasis from Manchester United fans, and they need to direct that at the board, not at Ollie. Because, bro, like after this international breaks, when these results start going badly for Manchester United, as they inevitably will, it's going to be all focused on Ollie. And it's like, what can this man do? He identified Sancho as a target. Woodward thought he could go get it done. Didn't get it. Jamie, when does it ever happen in football when the biggest team in the world is linked with a player, that player indicates they want to come, the team that's selling him is saying, yeah, you can get him for this fee, and you don't get the business done? To me, it's a madness. It's a madness.
Yeah, I would like to put a shining light on it. I do think the signing of Alex Telles is somewhat a decent signing for them. They obviously need to upgrade the quality of their defence. They've been a shambles so far this season. We're a few games in. I know it's early doors. Man United fans are saying they've had no pre-season and stuff like that, but they just look so bad. They look so bad. The result on the weekend could have been the same result against Brighton. Brighton hit the post and bar, God knows how many times, like 4 or 5 times. They looked bad. They've looked really, really bad. And I'm not saying this because I don't necessarily have anything against Man United. And I'm not saying this from like a vitriolic place, you know. It's just, you just look at like some of the signings they've made. You know, I just think, you know, are Man United the force they used to be? Like, yeah, 40 million for Van der Beek, great signing, but do they need him? You know, I just think it's underwhelming. It's obviously Ed Woodward. I think you're right to say Ed Woodward is the problem. But yeah,
brother, I'm writing that word down. Vitrolic. I love that one. That's a new one for Scrabble. Vitrolic. I'm not coming from a vitrolic place. That is hard. That is hard.
Mate, you're not the only one who can throw big words into
big words out there.
Yeah? Your arguments, right? For me personally, who else had a bad window? Obviously, Burnley. I don't think you can even judge Burnley. Burnley haven't
done no business.
They've done no business there. They've spent zero. I think obviously that's poor. But for me personally, this probably comes from quite a biased place. I think West Ham have had a really bad window. I'd say West Ham are arguably the biggest losers of the window. Yes, you can argue that we've signed Souček permanently. We've brought him back. But other than that, the only players that we've actually signed to strengthen our squad would be the new right back, Kufal. Got him for 6 million from Slavia Prague. Obviously, he was recommended by Souček. So apparently, I don't really know what our scouts are doing nowadays. Our players are recommending other players, But
bro, I love when you talk about West Ham, but you just got this like. Obviously, when you do well, you're gassed. But when you talk about them and things have gone badly, you just have this like dull look in your eyes, like you're dead behind the eyes.
Right. When you're a West Ham fan for so long, like you got to realize, like the heights of my West Ham supporting careers per se, right? Yeah. Or when we had Payet and we finished like 7th in the Premier League. That's the highest.
No, bro. The FA Cup final in 2006. That was pretty high.
Yeah, fine, mate. But the point
you
is,
lost.
Like, how many years are between then? Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. as a West Ham fan, you get dull to this over a period of time because it's just, you just. Yeah, it's just constant. There's always something. And as a West Ham fan, you're just always going through these things. Like even through this window, we needed a centre back, big time. We needed a centre back. When Diop came in, he looked like when we signed him originally, he looked like a really, really solid centre back. But now he doesn't look like the same player. So we're screaming out for a centre back, and we put in these bids that were laughable to Burnley for Tarkowski. They were never going to be accepted. There's so many centre backs out there that we can go and grab. For a decent. You look at other clubs around us, people like clubs like Aston Villa. Aston Villa have done so well, but Aston Villa, like, look at Wolves. Like, look at Leicester. Apparently we were trying to put bids in for players that would rather go to Leicester, and it's like you just look at that as a West Ham fan. You think the progress over the last 5 years, like from Leicester, is huge. The progress from Wolves is huge. The progress from West Ham is just. It's minimal. It's minimal, and it's just like we're stagnating, and it's almost as if the club are happy to see us just secure Premier League football each season. But, again, I've said about it before, we let Diangana go. We've let another young prospect in Josh Cullen go to Anderlecht, where he'll play lots of football. All the best to him. There's shining lights on our side, but then we let out Felipe Anderson. Felipe Anderson, we signed him for big, big money less than a couple of years ago, and he's on loan at Porto now.
That's the one I don't understand, because West Ham, obviously, they love the sizzle. They love the kind of like player that's going to be not flashy, but kind of excite the fans. And Felipe Anderson was supposed to be like the heir apparent to Payet, and it just hasn't worked out. And like you say, he's gone on. Like, I don't understand when players go on loans to better teams. It's like, surely you could do with him. But I don't know, man. I feel you're paying for West Ham, but at least you got a good result on the weekend to kind of brighten up your mood.
And it comes from a good place as well, because like ultimately I do love West Ham, but I just think some of the you look at the statements the board makes, and I alluded to it earlier. When your owner, your actual football club owner, is just ringing up Jim White on TalkSport and having interviews, on TalkSport. What other board do that? What owner does that in the Premier League? It's just laughable, laughable. Yeah. And as West Ham fans, it's just perpetuated every single season,
We should have seen the writing on the wall, though, because they did this with Birmingham, do you know what I mean? Like, they are these guys. And sooner they're out of West Ham, the better. But to round this section up, obviously, your winners of the transfer window were Villa.
Aston Villa, yeah.
And your losers were West Ham, so sticking with the Claret and Blues. I think my winners, who are my winners again? Arsenal. And my losers are Manchester United, just because... we don't even to explain that. Should we move on to fantasy football?
Yeah, reluctantly, let's do it. Right, people. So if you've been paying attention to our Instagram, you would have seen that Kwaku posted around a week ago that me and Kwaku were actually bottom of our own fantasy league. And yeah, it hasn't really improved after another weekend. I mean, I would say I've gone up one space. I'm now 21st, and Quaker has actually dropped down to 22nd.
Yeah, that's only because there's more people in the league, though, bro.
Yeah, I think you know, realistically, the people that are below us at this point, Kwaku, are people that actually joined the league late. So, yeah, I don't think it's fair really to give you a wooden spoon. I think we should share that and basically just hang our heads in shame, hold the L.
Hold the L, hold all the letters of the alphabet, bro. Like, we are dead at fantasy. It's mad. We are dead at fantasy.
Yeah. So we come with all these eloquent arguments and these, like, you know, articulated opinions on football, and then we try and interpret that into, you know, or try and implement it into, you know, the We Talk Football Fantasy League, and we're just getting shown up. But yeah, so we're still doing shocking. But yeah, who's top this week? So again, who's top?
Okay, so our editor Harriet is still top of the fantasy league. She's actually killing it. 94 points. Who's you have on that team? Kane, bro.
Hey, could I just say 94 points, right? It's literally double the amount of points I got. I got 47.
Man, we need to start putting these top, man.
It started off so well for me. I had Rodriguez in there. I had Calvert-Lewin. They were banging goals to me. It just went downhill. Like, you know, all the big players aren't performing. You know, Salah got 2 for me, but Liverpool got battered, you know, by Aston Villa. But yeah, other than that, like, it was curtains for me. Curtains.
Mate, I'm looking at
Harriet as well.
Her team right now, but she had Harry Kane, captain, Son in there, Grealish, who got 3 assists and 2 goals. Calvert-Lewin, like, now at this stage, I'm just an idiot for not having him in my team. Like, I'm just being hard-headed. Masuaku, got an assist. Bro, like, her team. How did Declan Rice only get 3 points?
That's mad. He's one of those players that doesn't really get much, isn't it? Like, I feel like, when you're a midfielder, I think you just get points. I actually don't really understand. I'll be completely honest. I actually don't know the rules for this game. I don't fully understand the rules. I don't get points. Like, I gave it the big one at the start of the season, that pretending I was going to do well, but, like, you know,
I'm in the same boat. I don't get it. Like, sometimes it's like, that plays minus points. I don't really get it. Maybe that's just us making excuses. But so what? Right now, Harriet's still sitting at the top. So congratulations to Harriet. Tibor's killing it. Tibor Mar, FC better than Hernan. Good name. Yeah. And yeah, Harry doing at the bottom, but obviously he joined a little bit later. Me and you in 21st and 22nd place, man. It's not looking good for fantasy.
I've moved up 1 space, so I'm looking good on that forfeit. So it's all good.
What's the forfeit again? What, shaving the head?
I think we need to. We didn't put it out to the listeners. Maybe we'll do a Twitter poll or something. We are trying to be a little bit more active on our Twitter now. So maybe we'll do a Twitter poll. Get you guys to go over there, vote what you think would be the best forfeit, or even put some suggestions in there, and then we'll gauge that, take it away, and see what we can do.
Yeah, I think we should. There needs to be some consequence for how poorly we're performing, man. Like, there needs to be some incentive to actually not be as shit at fantasy as we are.
You could argue that we both deserve the forfeit, but, you know, if I'm not coming bottom, then I'm not getting that forfeit. Great, just let you know.
mate, it's bad. But obviously, everyone listening, if you think you can do better, make sure you do join our fantasy team, our fantasy league, and see how you can fare. We'll leave the code in the description. And yeah, man, I think we should stop talking about fantasy and wrap this stuff up, because actually it's hurting me looking at this league table, man. We're rock bottom and it's not good.
Yeah, definitely. Quakes, my recording stopped on my iPad.
Has it?
Yeah.
How when did it stop recording?
32 minutes.
Okay, that was like 13 minutes ago, I think.
Fuck. Sorry,
we should leave this in. Alright, we're leaving this in. It's candid. Oh well, it's the teething issues when you first start a podcast. Make sure you follow us on socials. It's WTF Podcast 19 on Twitter. It's We Talk Football Podcast on Instagram. You can follow us on Apple Music and Spotify. Make sure you follow the thing and like, subscribe, and support the thing. It's been another episode of We Talk Football, and hopefully next week we'll have less technical issues. Peace.
Yeah, thanks guys. Appreciate it.